Hello.
Hi, welcome, ma'am.
And I'm very happy to welcome you all on this 97th episode. And it's our endeavor to serve all of you the best. And very soon we are reaching to the century of these programs. So, this was my dream to give a platform to the women members as a speaker, as a moderator. And I'm happy that we are completing 100 episodes with the support of all speakers and all coordinators and entire audience. So I'm very happy, and we are coming towards the end of this year. And 12th February is the last year. Last 11th February is the last day of the year. This ICI year, I can say, and we have done a lot of activities in this year for our members, women members, young members. We started the Sky High Symposium. We have also started Youth Excellence Symposium webinar mode. We have conducted various programs on physical mode wherever the branches have approached and requested. We have specially done the campus placement program for women, specifically for flexi hours and work from home basis. And 1700 plus women have actually enrolled for this initiative, and 60 plus companies have also enrolled for taking this campus placements drive. We have also first time in the history of WIRC, we have conducted a CA Women Excellence Award, and we have received about 90 plus nominations across India. And I'm happy to share with all of you, we have very successfully conducted this award ceremony also in the month of December. So these are the initiatives I would like to share with all of you, that there are 4 lakh chartered accountant members, out of which 29% are women fraternity. So we can say about 1 lakh 20,000 are women members. However, on the basis of the survey and the research and the when we talk to various members, we come to know that about 50% women workforce are not fully utilized for the professional work. They're either not doing anything or doing very few things due to whatever we are. Once they take the sabbatical due to whatever uh, personal reasons, and then they are not actually working fully in the profession. And so hardly 50% of the women fraternity is working. If we see the ratio of the women pass outs, since last 3 attempts, we are having 44% of 44.2% of women pass outs, basically, out of the total. So that this time about 8,000 plus members have passed out of which 40 plus percentage is a woman. There are 42.9% is a girl students, and 44% pass outs, 29% are women members, out of which 50% are working. And if we see the leadership positions, very few members, women members are in leadership positions, hardly maybe less than 3% of the total fraternity, women fraternity are at the leadership position. And this ratio is really very low as compared to other countries, other developed countries also. And accordingly, to actually recognize the women who have actually reached to the top, and to motivate the women who are not doing anything, who want to do something after taking the sabbatical or the break, we have organized this Women Excellence Awards, and we are very successful in receiving that. Again, in sustainability, also, if we see UN SDG 5 is also talking about women gender equality. So accordingly, we have taken all those initiatives so that our women members get a maximum benefit about it. And with these words, I welcome all of you to this 97th episode of Sky High Symposium. And friends, it is our endeavor to serve the best to all the members and the students. With these words, I welcome all of you, and over to the coordinators.
Thank you so much, ma'am. for everybody. Preeti ma'am, Preeti Salwa ji, she's the chairperson of our Women and Young Members Excellence Committee of ICI. She's also the chairperson of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, and she's the vice chairperson of Valuation Standard Boards for the year 2023-24. Thank you for your kind words, ma'am. Indeed, being a woman, being a working woman and having a child, I absolutely thank you for what all you are doing for us. Thank you so much and I believe that all the women will be feeling the same. Thank you so much for your kind words. Now, just a little brief. On behalf of Women and Young Members Excellence Committee of I extend warm welcome to all of you to the Sky High Symposium series. It's a platform created by the committee to share technical updates, enhance non-technical skills, and encourage our members to confidently express themselves in public forums. This initiative aims to empower and inspire our members to step forward and make the most of their abilities. This Wednesday program series has been thoughtfully designed to nurture the growth and development of our cherished women and young members. The Sky High Symposium is not just about technical updates. It is a platform to cultivate non-technical skills and empower our members to shine confidently on the public stage. Taking it forward for today's session is a promise of enlightenment as we explored the realm of work life balance. Considering work life balance is so important today, our today's speaker, CA Mohsineen Mirza ji, she'll grace us with her insights. CA Mohsineen Mirza ji, she has an experience of 14 years, of over 14 years. She is also a ex-SICASA chairperson and committee member of ICI Lucknow branch. She is a certified ISO 27001 system auditor. She specializes in assessing risk controls for the financial institutions. And away from work, she is a very avid volunteer for the she's a very avid volunteer and works on the issues related to children and women. Welcome, CM Mohsineen ji. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind words. And thank you, Preeti, ma'am, for the initiatives such as these that ensure women participation is increased, especially physical workshops and physical conferences that happen sometimes makes it difficult for a working women and women with children to attend. So these virtual events do add a great value and are definitely igniting a change in each of our lives. Indeed, it was heartwarming to hear that there are so many women who qualify as chartered accountants, but due to difficulties, due to different lack of opportunity, are not able to engage in the profession proactively. Commendable are the efforts that Preeti Salve ma'am has taken to ensure that these women are brought back into workforce and have opportunities with flexible work hours to ensure that they continue to be motivated and continue their contribution towards professional development as well. So thank you so much for all your efforts. It is praiseworthy, and it is indeed the leadership like you that we continue to grow, and the promise of a balanced work life balance promise becomes a reality. So without any further ado, I will start today's session. I'll be sharing my screen. Please kindly let me know if you can see it. Give me a moment. Can someone give me a thumbs up if they're able to see the screen? Yeah. So thank you all our viewers for joining today's session. And today we'll be diving into the idea of work-life balance. Now, what is it that we call work-life balance? Is it the distribution of equal hours between our personal life and professional life, or is it something else? So we'll take you through that journey. And in the end, I hope at the end of the event, you're able to recognize the impact and benefits of a balanced life on your personal life. You're able to create a strategy for creating a work-life balance, and you're also able to understand your own self a little better. So if you look at what is work-life balance, if you just simply Google, no, you'll get a definition that says, oh, it's a balance between one's personal life and professional life, and so on and so forth. Work-life balance is in fact about finding the right mix between work and personal life. And as women who are more prone to be exhausted by their personal life, and as we saw today, are unable to get the benefits of professional life, it is very important for us to strike that balance. So when we are trying to strike that balance, we will be learning today how to recognize the signs of burnout and learn the ways to avoid it. We'll explore together how we can juggle our work and life in a way that keeps us happy and healthy. Work-life balance refers to the harmony between one's professional responsibilities and personal responsibilities. It involves effective time management and energy to ensure satisfying and fulfilling life both at work and outside work. So what is it like? As women, you have zillion things on your plate. You have to manage your kid, you have to manage your job, you have to manage your kitchen. How do we strike a balance is something that we all need to learn for a successful life. Now, sometimes though, when we talk about work-life balance, we wonder what it actually is. Is it about just time? Is it about just putting a schedule in place that, okay, that we are going to do 3 hours of our professional work, 8 hours of 8 hours of our professional work, 4 hours of personal work, 2 hours of sleep? Is it something like that? Yes, structure is important, but work-life balance is not solely about time. It is about the quality of time that we experience. It involves effectively managing your time at work and outside work to ensure both aspects of life are fulfilling. It's just not numbers. It's not just about numbers we spend on each. It's about creating a harmony, a satisfaction in both our professional and personal domains. It would mean different thing to different people. For instance, when I was a young mother, I had a young kid, my demands at home were a lot more than what at that point of in life I wanted to do professionally. So striking a balance, choosing to spend less hours at work and including my kids' time into my day gave me the satisfaction and fulfillment. It could be different for different people at a different stage of life. So we'll look at all these things, and we are going to look at some of the things that bring in this harmony in our life. It can be quality interactions, relaxation, meaningful activities. All these things play a very crucial role in achieving a balanced life. So what happens when you do not have balanced life? How does it impact is also something that we're going to look at it today. Now, having a work-life balance is a continual pursuit. What does it mean? It means that we have to continue working towards it. Every day, every week, month, we have to reconnect, reevaluate, and replanning as and when the time demands change. It means that we have to be dedicated. We have to be committed to the concept of having a balance in life. For example, I gave you my example when I had young kids. Obviously, as a professional, as a chartered accountant, a woman chartered accountant, I was also carving professional success. But at that point of time, I had to redefine my priorities. I had to tell my organization that I am not ready for promotions right now. I am not looking for greater responsibilities at work because I am more needed in my home right now. That dedication, that choice that you have to make will bring a harmony in your life. Then you have to continue the development. You have to continue working towards it. These plans will change. 3 years in time, when your kid is independent, is going to a play school. When my kid became independent and was going to play school, it gave me the time to dedicate more time towards my professional life and less time to my personal life. This way I was able to reorganize my goals, reorganize my time, and continue working towards a balance. Studies have shown, right, that when you have more work, what do? We have more work, we sleep less. And then what happens on this on the scale that you can see on your screen right now? The three things that you can see: it's irritability, headaches, and fatigue. When you are not sleeping, you have to analyze you. These are few things that you experience. And what we tend to do is, like, when we have more work, whether it is professional work, whether it is personal work, okay, I have been working for 8 hours, now I want to spend another few hours at my doing my household chores, probably ironing the clothes or setting the house in order. What do? I tend to steal that time from my sleep. And you may think, how does it matter? No, 1 hour of sleep, 1 hour less sleep, tomorrow I'll sleep 1 more hour. But we all know, right, from experience, that it doesn't stop there. 1 hour becomes 2 hour, 2 hour becomes 3 hour, and it continues to grow. We continue to steal hours from our sleep, put it towards our work or put it towards our household chores, and eventually over a period of time we're leading ourselves towards sleep deprivation. Now, sleep deprivation for a long period of time has major health issues, both physical and your mental health. It can, what can it do? Like, is it bad? How is it, how much is it damaging? How damaging it is, right? So you would know that eventually it would lead to your impaired cognitive function. What does impaired cognitive function means? Lack of sleep can lead to difficulty in concentration, memory, in decision making, and eventually you have to understand, right? Aging is a natural process. We will not continue to be that 21-year-old women or 20-year-old men at in all stages at all times. We'll continue to grow, eventually growing into to reaching 35 years of age, 50 years of age, 70 years of age. So over the period of time, lack of sleep can impair your cognitive function. It can lead to difficulty in concentration, memory loss, poor decision making, contributing to difficulties in old age. Then you could have emotional disturbances. You could experience irritability. You can have there days when I have experienced so much mood swing. I'm so irritable. Even the smallest issue at workplace can trigger it. It can look like a big problem to me, which I'm not able to solve. Why do I experience all these things? Increase emotional sensitivity. Why am I experiencing all these things? It's because of lack of sleep. Simple lack of sleep has led to my emotional disturbance. Other could be you're decreased in immune function. We all have come from COVID, right? We all know how important it is for us to have a strong immune system. With the climate change, with the changing times, there are new diseases that are coming into picture. There are new way in the change of weather is such that some days you feel like you have cold, another day you have cough, and all these things are actually the result of your decreased immune function. And that this can also be connected to chronic sleep deprivation, which has weakened your immune system, making your body more prone to illness. Of course, lack of sleep will lead to increased stress. Now, sleep deprivation, studies have shown, will elevate your stress hormone, which in turn will again contribute towards your heightened anxiety and stressful stage, which will again take you back to the loop, that lack of decrease in immune system, lack ability to make proper decisions. All those things will get impacted. One of the most surprising results that I have noticed is when you don't have balance, when you have lack of sleep, when you are suffering from chronic sleep deprivation, what normally happens is that it starts impacting your performance and productivity. And that's the really sad part of it, right? we started to work more. We started to invest ourselves so much into a professional life. Now you could be doing that to your while you're practicing chartered accountant, or you could be doing that when in a corporate job as well. And we have overexerted ourselves with an intention. What was the end result? Why we were working so hard was to ensure that we meet our professional goals, that we provide better services to our clients, that we get promotions when if we are working in corporates. But the lack of sleep, your inability to have a balanced life, eventually will lead to your reduced performance and productivity. Sleep deprived individuals will often experience decreased work performance and productivity. And what does that mean? That you're working really hard, but the output is not coming as you wanted. You're working towards on a project for a client who worked 24 hours straight, and yet the client is not satisfied. So you ask yourself, stop there, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Because eventually I was working so hard because my goal was to get professional satisfaction, to increase my revenue of my firm, to give client better services, to attract more clients. But eventually I'm irritable. I am not able to give my 100%, and I am having a negative impact on my mental health, because it will lead to eventual depression and anxiety. Of course, when you're not alert, lack of alertness can also lead to actual accidents happening on the road. So is it really worth it? You have to ask yourself, that is it that bad? Do we really do we really need to deprive ourselves and put ourselves through all this difficult situation? And what is at stake? No, you keep on like you keep have to wonder. You have to tell yourself, ask yourself, how do I manage? What is at stake? Without work-life balance, we may face increased stress. We are heading towards burnout, potential negative impacts on physical and mental health. It can strain our relationships. It can lead to dissatisfaction in job. It can overall hinder our well-being. Long-term consequences are also there. These consequences may not be short-term for you. It could lead to reduced productivity, creativity, increased in experiencing health issues such as cancer and diabetes, obesity. So it is actually counterproductive to having a sustained career success and fulfilling personal life. Those are some of the things that we experience when we are out of balance, when we're putting ourselves out there, exposing ourselves too much to elements like stress, whether it is work related or is it personal related. Striking a balance helps you. Now we are in a stage where we are all threatened by artificial intelligence. You might have heard it so many times. You may have been told this, that artificial intelligence is going to take away the jobs that are repetitive in nature, and accounting and auditing seems to be one of the two jobs that will be impacted as it is being talked in media. So how do you have sustained fulfilling career? It is innovation and creativity that will set us apart from artificial intelligence. This innovation and creativity will only be possible if you are not if you have balanced life, if you're not sleep deprived, if you're not stressed, if you do not suffer from anxiety. Those things will lead to innovation, whether it is in your job or in your personal practice. The innovation will play a key role. What different type of services you are able to render to your clients will eventually decide your success. The creativity with which you can bring solutions on table you for problems that your clients are facing will become the key in coming future. So in order to make yourself that effective in professional life, balance again becomes really important. Now when you are a entrepreneur, when you run your own firm, then it also becomes very important that you have a balanced organization. Now when I talk about balanced organization, I do not mean that you let your articles go at 4 in the evening, that you let your workforce go at 5 and you give them a gala and a happy time. No, there will be demands. There will be months when you would be needed to exert yourself, when those clients would demand more of your time. I've heard September is quite busy, or March is very busy. So in those months, you have to understand that yes, I will have to give 18 hours of my day to my profession. I will have to ask my articles to give 18 hours of day to this profession. But at the same time, you have to ensure that you plan well ahead for those hectic months, that you plan enough so that there's a balance in organization, that maybe before that month or after that period of no stress has passed, you can experience some downtime and share that downtime with your colleague. Why I ask you to do that is, when I was in Lucknow, when I was working in the committee in Lucknow branch, I used to get a lot of no requests for sending articles. Oh, we need articles. Can you send articles? We need more articles. Can you please send those articles? Your articles become your those kids are your best advertisers. Not all of them will go into practice. Some of them will eventually be joining some really good companies, some really good corporates, and they would become your advertisers, not just for attracting future workforce, but also for attracting business. So it is important that you give a balanced, you have a balanced organization that recognizes talent, that helps in talent development, and you can only have those things, that kind of goodwill that you can only develop is by having a balanced life, by having a balanced organization. Work life balance is a people problem. When you talk about work life balance, we cannot separate the people challenges and this challenge specifically. So when it is a people challenge, then what one of the best solutions that it has is inclusion. Make sure that you have inclusive environment at your home. Make sure that you have right people helping you out. You hire the right talent. You nurture the right talent. You bring in innovation and creative solutions to the problems that you're facing, so that you have a proper balanced organization. You have a proper balanced household. And what else is at stake? The biggest thing that is at stake is your personal relationship, not just with your loved one, not just with your spouses, your in-laws, your family members, but your relationship with yourself, with your well-being, with your own health. Having a balanced life helps you to cater to your own needs as well. So we've talked about so much about stress, right? So is all stress bad? Do I need to really, is it possible even for me to reduce my entire stress, outsource everything, and not be stressed about anything? No, it's not possible. It is not possible to completely reduce stress, and it is not even advisable to reduce complete stress. Not all stress is bad. Studies, there are several studies out there, there are several no interviews out there that will tell you that high performers, athletes, superstars have all claimed that certain amount of stress helps them to perform better. In fact, it keeps them ahead of their competitors. Now just stop for a moment and think, when you were a student, when you were doing chartered accountancy, you were not a chartered accountant. Did you not had stress then? Of course you had stress of failing. But was that stress bad? I don't think so. The right amount of stress helped us pass those examination, helped us to know when we're trying to go watch a movie. It was the stress of failure. It was that risk that we had in our mind, that, oh, we needed to study, that pulled us back to our books from when we were glued to the television, and made sure that we are able to give our best. So not all stress is bad. One of the most popular laws is a psychological principle, is Jackie's Dawson laws, and it described that a relationship between arousal or stress and performance. It suggests that there's an optimum level of stress or arousal for a peak performance, and both stress, low, extremely low stress where you're carefree, you don't care for anything, and high level of stress can hinder performance. Now, if you look at the graph on your screen right now, you'll see that it's a bell curve, meaning that there's an optimum point where if you reach that, you will have the optimum amount of stress that will help you in achieving and getting your professional and personal success both. But at the same time, if the stress reaches a higher degree, it will become counterproductive. Now you could ask, no, what is that optimum level? How do I find that optimal level? Is it same for everyone? It is not. Every person has a different optimum level, and it is the effort that you will make to find it will help you understand your own self better. So at lower level of stress, performance will be suboptimal due to lack of stimulation and motivation. And as the stress increases, performance generally improves, reaching an optimum point. However, if you continue on that path, the stress continues to escalate beyond this optimal level, the performance will tend to decline, leading to negative consequences, which we've already discussed, such as stress, anxiety, anxiety, decision making, poor decision making, decreased productivity. So, in this context of stress, the Yankees Dosen law implies that certain amount of stress can be beneficial for performance, but excessive stress will lead to burnout and decreased effectiveness. And we'll in a while see what burnout is, but let's understand what this law is trying to say. It is highlighting the importance of finding a balance in stress levels as well, not just a work-life balance, but balance of in your stress level, so that you are able to monitor yourself and say, okay, if I'm feeling this much stress, I'm doing well. But if my stress levels are going to increase, I will definitely start acting on it. So, because I know from this law that it will eventually be leading to my downfall. Individuals and organizations need to recognize and manage stress effectively to maintain healthy and productive work environment. In your own firms, with your own colleagues, with your own employees, you have to make sure that you find that optimum mix, because if you don't, then you will be finding it difficult to retain talent. People will be leaving, you'll be looking for hiring, firing, and all those things will come into picture if you do not have the optimum productive work environment. Now we talked about the optimum. We now have learned that there's a stress. There are several stress that are around us. We've also learned that not all stress is bad. But then so many of us would have heard this term called burnout. Now I'm feeling here's a burnout. Like it's a very in term. What does it mean? So if you Google it, simply put burnout in Google, you'll see that burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you're overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet a constant demands. That level is called burnout, and it's well up, no, well above stress. It may start as a stress, but will eventually reach a much higher levels in your emotions to become when you feel you are getting burned out. It's a pervasive phenomenon in today's fast-paced and demanding world. It is just more than fatigue or stress. It's an emotional and physical exhaustion. And why is it happening? It is happening because you have exposed yourself to a high degree of stress. You have exposed yourself to an extent that your mind and body is not able to cope up with it anymore. And mostly it is related to your workspace. And many people I have met in my life who have faced burnouts, and their reason they have always associated is with their uh, not such work environment, with their stress that is contributable to their jobs. And in those stage they have decided to quit the job. They have decided, they've taken decisions. Sometimes many relationships have fallen apart because they were burned out, because the spouse was burned out. They were not able to identify it, they were not able to address it in time, and it eventually had a long-term impacts on their personal relationship, their professional relationship, and life. So understanding burnout is really important. We know that it is an emotional and physical exhaustion. It is a result of prolonged exposure to high level of stress. It is a pervasive sense of depletion, no, that can get and impact all aspects of your life, not just your professional performance, but also your personal well-being. So you have to understand your own burnout. You have to understand how your own body and mind react to certain level of stress. How do you do that? We'll learn in a while. For now, it is important that you understand, okay, there's a burnout, there's a term called burnout, and it means that I have been exposing myself to a greater or higher level of stress that is not required. Now when I'm going to step on that ladder where I'm going to push myself to a stressful situation, I need to have checks in between that tells me to stop, that tells me to reevaluate. So I have to be proactive, understand what burnout means for me, how is it caused, what are its causes, and what are my proactive strategies to mitigate its impact, reduce its impact, and help in fostering a healthier and more sustainable life, more sustainable work environment. There are all of us, right? There are days when we feel so helpless, we are so overloaded, we feel like we are unappreciated, we are just literally dragging ourselves out of the bed, and we require like a determination of Hanuman even to get out of the bed, and we are so exhausted. And if you are reaching that stage, if you're feeling those things, then you are probably putting yourself on the path towards burnout. And that is your trigger. That is the point where you have to stop and think, is this the right path for me? Am I doing something incorrectly here? And reevaluate yourself. Some of the signs could be, as you can see on your screen, they could manifest in physical signs, that is feeling tired, drained, lower immunity, you're falling sick very frequently, you're experiencing frequent headaches, you're experiencing muscle pains, you do not feel like sleeping, you do not feel like eating. Could be emotional signs, you are in self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough? So many times people have experienced such a toxic work environment, especially those in the job have experienced. Women are more into this when they experience their male colleagues putting them down day in day out, that they tend to become have self doubts. Am I really good at this job? Am I meant to do this? You're feeling helpless. I cannot quit the job, I need the money, I am defeated, I do not want to do anything. Those could be your emotional signs that are telling you that something is not right. You need to take some time off, you need to reevaluate, you do not feel motivated, there's decreased satisfaction. And then of course there are behavior signs, which means that you are tending to isolate yourself from others. You're taking longer to do the task that in prior times in past you have been very quick on your feet, you are able to organize the parties, go out for dinners, catch up on movies, but now you don't feel like doing. You're so frustrated that you're taking out your frustration on your colleagues, not necessarily uh, uh, some on your kids, not necessarily, but yes, mothers can tend to take out their frustration on kids because they don't know that they're doing that. On your spouses, on your family members, on your domestic helps, you're taking out your frustration on anything and everything. You're skipping work, you are not taking. So there's a process when you're in a job, there's a process of taking leaves, and everyone is entitled to take those leaves, but you're simply not going to the meetings. You're setting up you're getting invitations from clients to meet, you're neither declining nor accepting, you're acting out, which means that there's something not right with you. And lastly, of course, that you are using coping mechanisms which are not in line with your usual self, that you are tending to look for avenues like drugs or alcohol, smoking, simply eating too much has become your coping mechanism. So all these things, signs can be a physical sign, emotional sign, or behavior sign that gives you an indication that you have to stop and rethink your path. See, you have to understand that that burnout is a gradual process. It is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to wake up and suddenly you are burned out. No, it is a gradual process. It is slowly creeping up on you, and these signs and symptoms will be small at first but will become worse as time goes by if you continue on that path. I'm not saying that every stress will lead to burnout, no, but if you continue on that path, if you keep adding, see yourself as a glass which is empty. You keep adding little stress every day, but it is only when you will reach to the brim that the water will start overflowing. And all these trainings, all the self-help books, all the motivation lectures help you to helps you to identify your tipping point and ensure that you do not reach that point. If you pay attention and you actively reduce your stress, you can obviously prevent a major breakdown, and you can obviously will reach to a better path. But if you don't, you will eventually lead to burnout. So what you can do, we have already touched upon these things at the start. Like, what can you do? I know myself, right? I know I'm feeling exhausted. I have to stop and reevaluate yourself. Relook at the way you look at the work also, whether you have a job that leaves you rushed off or on your feet, or you feel like it's monotonous, unfulfilling, and it's not the most effective way to burn out a job is to quit and find a job. I'm telling you, revaluation doesn't mean that, okay, now I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to find myself. We all need money. We all live in a very material world, and there are a lot of pressure. Different people come from different background, and there is a pressure to continue earning, to be financially secure, and there's nothing wrong in that. Relooking at the work is not about just simply quitting and finding another job. It is about reaching a conclusion, evaluating, looking at the job. Am I being respected here? Is this what I need to do, what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this something, do I need to alter something here so that this work becomes a happier work for me? It should not be this challenging. Coming to office should not feel this way. And once you've reached that conclusion, once you have made up your mind, okay, this is something that no, something I do not want to do, or this is something I want to continue doing, or you reach the conclusion that you will look for a job that you love instead, no, you will be grateful, right? Whatever your situation is, whatever, there will be steps that will help improve your state of mind. So even in the jobs, even if the job is such that you do not like, or there's a client that you do not like, he's really cranky, you do not like him, or you do not like her, gender, like irrespective of the gender, and you don't want to work with that client, but obviously that client is billing you and giving you money, and that could be your satisfaction. No, try find some value in your work. Even in some mundane jobs, you can focus on how your role helps others. For example, you provide a much needed product or service. Like I said, maybe that service is providing you with the money that you really need. Try and drive satisfaction from that point itself. Focus on the aspects of the job that you do enjoy. Even if it is chatting with your coworkers at lunch, changing your attitude towards your job will help you regain that sense of purpose and control. Find and eventually find balance in your life. If you hate your job, look for meaning and satisfaction somewhere else. I was at a point in time when I didn't like my job, but that job was paying my bills, but putting food on my table, and I needed to continue in the period where I would find another job that would be more fulfilling. In that period of time, I tried looking for satisfaction somewhere else. Had concluded that this is not the job for me. I do not like doing this job. I completely hate it. I need a change. I am going to look for another job. But in the meantime, what I did was I tried finding satisfaction. I tried finding happiness in something away from job, like in my family, friends, hobbies, voluntary work. You can focus on that part of your life for the time being that are bringing in future, like that are bringing in satisfaction, rather than focusing on something that you do not like. Make friends at work. Having strong ties in the workplace can help you reduce monotony and counter effects of burnout. Having friends to chat, to joke during the day can relieve your stress from an unfulfilling, very repetitive, very demanding job, and will eventually help you get through a rough day or even improve your job performance. And then the best thing that you can do is, when you do not like your job, is to take some time off. If burnout seems to be inevitable, if nothing is working for you, take a break, go on a vacation. And by going on vacation, it does not mean that you go to Manali or you go to Maldives, or you spend, you get the most expensive package there is from the travel advisors. No, take a vacation, spend some time with you, stay at home, do things that you need. If you like cooking, do cooking. If you like reading, do reading. Do not let the pressure of social media driven vacations impact you. Vacation would mean different things to different people. I have friends who like going to trekking. They even in 3 days leave, they would just pack their bag and they go trekking. I have friends who like to go on expensive exotic vacations they can afford and love putting pictures on social media, they do that. For me, sometimes I do go on trekking, sometimes I do not want to go on trekking. I take that expensive vacation that I have been really craving, I've been really wanting, if my budget allows. If not, then I simply take time off, take my Friday, take my Monday off, get those Monday 4 days just to myself, relax, spend some time reading, praying, whatever works for you, whatever is helps you remove yourself from the situation, a temporary leave of absence, which whatever helps you recharge your battery, you pursue that, option. You don't necessarily have to follow what everyone else is doing. Self realization is very important, and that comes to my tip number 2, which is you have to re-evaluate your priorities. Burnout is an undeniable sign that something important in your life is not working, whether it is job or your personal life. You have to take time out. You have to take time to think about your hopes, goals, dreams. Are you neglecting something that is truly important to you? Take a paper, take a pen, write everything down, analyze. Okay, professionally this is what I want to do, personally this is what I want to do, for me I want to do this. As women, we keep our own interest, own well-being at the last. No, you have to keep yourself, bring yourself forward, because if you are happy, your household is happy, your kids are happy, your parents are happy. If you're not married, if you're single, be that, make yourself happy. Make yourself your P0 priority. Ensure that you are doing everything that you are, know that you need to keep yourself motivated to make yourself happy. You have to list down what you need, your hopes, your goals, your dreams, everything. And you'll see, once you have those three lists in three clean columns, there will be overlaps. There will be overlaps between the three things. Spending time with my family makes me happy. It also is my household priority. Spending time or doing something, achieving, getting promotion is making me happy, and it is also my job performance indicator. So there will be indicators that will be overlapping in all those three lists. Find those three indicators, write it down, make those indicators priority, that is helping you achieve a balance between your work, your professional and your personal life. And also setting time out for yourself is important. So neglecting something that is truly important to you will eventually lead to stress, and prolonged period of stress we have already established will lead to your burnout. They can be, when you take time out, when you re-evaluate, consider it as an opportunity to rediscover what really makes you happy. Slow down, give yourself time to reflect, heal, rest, and then you go back rejuvenated. We Indian women have such difficulties to say no. We have so much difficulties in uh, understanding or setting boundaries, because in a practical society like ours, we have not been trained to prioritize ourselves. We have not been trained to set boundaries. But eventually, if you want to strike a work life balance, eventually if you want to have a successful career and also successful personal life, if you want to be that superwoman you have been wanting to, you have to get things right. And some of the things that you can do is on the slide in front of you. You can establish clear work hours. You have to take regular breaks, schedule downtime, delegate responsibilities. Those are some of the things you can do. And one of the most important thing that you can do is set boundaries. Do not overextend yourself. Learn to say no on the request. Okay, someone is sending you even if it means a personal invitation, even if it means a social dinner that your husband wants you to throw. If it is not important, tell him that no, not on a weekday, maybe on a weekend, but not on a weekday. Take daily break from technology. It is really important that you stop, you disconnect completely, rest properly, get your sleep, and make sure that you nourish your creative side as well. Creativity is a powerful antidote to burnout. So try something new, start a fun project, maybe invest some time in painting. You can see there will be overlaps, like I said, painting and then overlap with you spending a time with your kids, or playing certain sport may over no will be an overlap between your husband's hobby and this, that those could be a quality, can be a quality time that you and your husband can spend together. And most essential is that you get plenty of sleep, because sleep is most essential to break the stressful pattern, to prevent the burnouts. And the lastly, as you can see on your screen, is also continuous learning. Continuous learning will help you nurture your mind. It will keep your work more interesting and satisfactory. Our institute itself offers you so many certifications, so many short period courses that you can know, you can make use of those courses, invest some time in your learning, so that it will give you a sense of achievement. When I complete my certifications, it gives me a sense of achievement. It obviously replenishes my knowledge, increases my professional appetite, and that in itself gives me the sense of satisfaction and brings my stress level down. You have to find the right mix for you. I cannot be telling you this. Nobody can tell you this. You have to spend time, make your list, put down your priority, see what is overlapping, plan your day. But remember, it is not about putting limits on in terms of number of time. Sometimes that work, okay, my work day will end at 5. That could be a good way to close your laptop, to come home on regular days. But when you are up for promotion, when you are doing a critical project, you might have to push that boundaries. So remember, you have to strike a balance. You don't have to choose one over the other. So that is how you can plan a balanced life. However, there could be a time when, despite of all your efforts, you are not reaching the state of equilibrium. You are not reaching the balance that you are seeing. You balance that you're striving. And if you notice that there's a persistent and severe signs of burnout, then seeking professional help is crucial. We all here are learned women, we are educated women, and we have to understand that seeking professional help is, there's nothing wrong in seeking professional help. If you have fever, you take medicines. If you have, god forbid, if you are going through some chronic physical issue, like a kidney issue or a liver issue, or if your leg has broken, would you not go to the doctor? Then when you are mentally exhausted, when you're experiencing severe signs of burnout, and some of those signs you can see on the screen itself, is chronic fatigue, which is like you're feeling tired all the time, and you are so you're not even getting a full night's sleep. If you're experiencing those signs, it is imperative, it is very essential that you reach out for professional help. Make sure that you get the best therapy out there, because it is something that you owe to yourself. And there's nothing wrong in seeking out professional help. Some of the signs could be chronic fatigue, emotional exhaustion. You're always overcome with emptiness, feeling of detachment, feeling of being emotionally drained. You're cynical, right? You're cynical, you're so detached, you're developing a negative and cynical attitude, not just towards your work, but towards your colleague, towards life in general. You feel like there's nothing left for me here. I have And so many of us would have heard the stories of people who are at the point, at the tipping point, and it's just a phone call that saved them. Now, you heard so many. Recently, I've been reading news about students in Kota who've been committing suicide at a very alarmingly large numbers. And it is those people would have been experiencing burnout, extreme stress situation, and they should have reached out for professional help. They should have reached out for counseling. So you have to make sure, you have to set that boundary, so that it is easier for you to reach out for professional help when you need it. You have to get out of the taboo. You have to break that mental barriers which says that seeking professional help might have a negative impact on your social image, or your no, people might perceive you differently. Yes, they could. That could be one of the side effects. But the thing is, you have to decide for yourself which is better: be having a social backlash, or being a well balanced and eventually a healthier human being. So do that. Read your signs. If you feel there are significant changes in your sleep, you're suffering from insomnia, or you're feeling irritable, you're withdrawn, and things that no one at one point of time you really had interest in are no longer, you're losing interest, then those could be indication of you to reach out for help. And again, I would say that there is no shame. There is nothing wrong in reaching out for help, in seeking professional help when you need it. Remember, mental fatigue, burnout is like cold, fever, and your normal cough. So for those who take medication, for this also you can reach out for professional help. With this, I would conclude by saying that recognizing and addressing burnout is crucial for overall well-being. Implement practical steps to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Be vigilant for signs indicating the need for professional help. Prioritize your self-care. Set boundaries. Seek help. Seek support. Hire the nanny that you need if you have professional for a month. If you have a lot going on in your firm and you feel like you cannot meet your personal responsibility, hire domestic help. It will be difficult in terms of financially. It could be difficult in terms of financially. But remember, for that period, that money does not matter. What matters is your health, because you have to have a sustained long-term career. You are not doing this short term. You are here for a long period of time. For 50 years, you want to be professionally good. You want to have a longevity in your life. You want to spend a quality life while you're on earth. And for that, a little money will does not have that value. You can always earn that money back when you are feeling better. We Indians tend to attach a lot of value to money. But remember, in short term, that may seem valuable, but in long term, it's just a very small value. So prioritize self-care, set boundaries, seek support when you are getting burned out, become persistent. Taking proactive measures ensures sustainable, fulfilling, and personal life. So with this, we come to an end, and I would stop by saying that you believe in yourself. There's nothing that you cannot do if you set your mind to. You're already a successful woman, you're a chartered accountant, and that says a lot about you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying with me for this hour. I hope you learned uh, something valuable today. And if I'm able to do a little, make some impact in your life, that's why I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohsneen ji. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. That the session was so fantastic. Like you just mentioned, I can surely tell you that you have made an impact in my life, because when you were mentioning about reevaluating our own priorities, like, many a times we want professional success also, and we want things balanced at the house also, but we can't have it all at certain times. So I immediately reevaluate my certain priorities. So I assure you that you have indeed created an impact in my life, and I believe the audience must have also gained a lot from that. Like you mentioned, like work-life balance is everybody's, it's there on everybody's plate today, because the materialism in the society and social media is the problem in itself. Many a times we need a detox from that also. The way you mentioned that everybody put pictures and everything, that tends to affect us a lot times. So you rightly mentioned that the key is evaluating ourselves, being true to ourselves, and taking some time out and seeing what we should be doing about it. Thank you so much. The session was very wonderful. It was very insightful. If the audience has any questions, they can sure they can ask ma'am. We'll just give them a minute if they have certain questions. So, since we have time, since we are waiting for them for a minute or two, the like what you mentioned about burnout is also true. Sometimes we don't know where stress ends and the burnout happens. That line is very narrow, but the movement from stress to burnout can be certainly immediate. So every day having that 5 minutes to oneself is so important. And like you mentioned that uh, regarding the counseling, still there is a lot of social taboo. One does not want to go out and reach out, but you are absolutely right. It is just like a cough and cold. It's nothing big. If seeking a help just once can save someone's life, especially those young kids, it's one, the parents should also be open about it. A person should also be open about it. It's nothing wrong with the mind, basically. It's just that we need someone to talk to, maybe, and someone sometimes that the person that who is unbiased, unjudged, that helps. Yeah. Thank you. I'll just check for the questions again. Okay, I believe there are no questions. So thank you so much for your time, for your insights. And I'll hand over the session to CA Kirti ji now. She'll introduce our next speaker. Kirti ji, thank you, everybody.
Hi, thank you, Akriti, for and thank you, Mohsin ji. Very wonderful session, actually. And actually, it is very important for the women who are left, taken a sabbatical due to some of the other reason. And very insightful session, although I will say. And now we will take our next session by CA Sivani Shah. I'm very grateful, taking a pleasure to introduce the great CA Sivani Shah. Shivani Shah is a distinguished chartered accountant, etched her name in history as India's first woman athlete to clinch the gold in kettlebell sports World Championship held in Uzbekistan in 2018. Her remarkable journey continued as she secured her fifth consecutive gold in kettlebell sports, solidifying her status as India's only five-time world champion, achieving this feat in Greece in 2022. This accolades for Shivani reached new heights when on March 28, 2022, the Honorable Prime Minister of India personally penned a letter of commendation in recognition of her hat-trick gold. He lauded Shivani for her outstanding contribution to nation building and hailed her as a symbol of women empowerment, inspiring countless women across the countries. Beyond her all these achievements, she is also a sporting arena. She is captivating a TEDx speaker, delivering her inaugural TEDx lecture in December 2021. Professionally, she is a fellow member of ICAI, having qualified in 2005 and a former employee of PwC. Currently, she is having her own practice as a Shivani Shah and Associates. Renowned as an erudite commentator, Shivani has shared her expertise at various seminars, conferences, and workshops focusing on GST, service tax, and VAT, serving as the National Faculty for Indirect Taxation for the ICAI. She is actively involved with NACEN for training CBEC officials. Her commitment to knowledge sharing extends to her contribution to various publications, including she is writing articles on tax matters. She is having a to EIRC, ICAI, Excise Law Times, and various websites. Shivani has taken her leadership role as chairperson for GST Indirect Tax Committee for ACAE Kolkata for 2019-20 and 2021. Currently, the Joint Secretary of the Association of Corporate Advisors and Executives for 23-24. She is also an empaneled member of the Indirect Tax Committee for Bengal Chambers of Commerce and Industry and Direct Tax Professional Association. Currently, she is serving as the chairperson for GST Committee as Views Exchange 23-24 and an active member of the Indirect Tax Study Group of EIRC ICAI. Shivani has left her mark on the multiple committees, serving as the past and present chairperson of for the Ladies Wing at ACAE and Views Exchange for 21-22. She has also been a past co-opted member of the Women's Committee EIRC. Shivani Shah continues to inspire and contribute significantly in both the professional and sporting realms. With this introduction, I'll welcome Shivani Shah for today's lecture.
Thank you so much, Kirti. To my co-speaker, Mohsin, Akriti, thank you so much for the lovely session. I had the privilege of listening to you towards the end. And I must say, what you said really resonated with me, because I think as women, as homemakers, as professional chartered accountants, we all go through a lot in life. I think it's equally tough for our male counterparts also, in all fairness to them. But thank you so much for this eye opener of a session. And thank you, Akriti. Thank you, Kirti. And I'd also like to thank you, ICAI, for giving me the opportunity. Since I'm on this side of this virtual session, I'm not entirely sure who all have tuned in. And as the name reads, this is the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee. So I'm assuming a lot of women and young chartered accountants have tuned in. As Kirti introduced me, my specialization as far as my professional expertise is lies in the subject of GST, and the topic for today is also handling intricacies in GST litigation. Uh, I don't know how this setup is, Akriti, but in case if the session is getting very technical in terms of the legality and the provisions, etc., we can always tone it down or vice versa. So just keep me posted on the chat box. So I am assuming I have until about 6 o'clock, which gives me a good 50 minutes to talk about. I would be very happy to take up questions. But before I even begin speaking technically on this subject, let me first give you a brief of where I started my career, because I think this will resonate a lot with the young chartered accountants and also women, because Akriti briefly mentioned about the women who take a sabbatical, after which they find it very difficult to get back to work. Well, I qualified in 2005 and I joined my career started my career with Price Waterhouse Coopers. And it was a very brief stint because I realized that I needed something smaller to learn more. And that's when I shifted base to a firm where I learned anything and everything to do with indirect taxation. A couple of years with them, then I started my own venture into indirect taxes. Back in the day, indirect taxes was all about service tax, VAT, and excise. And a lot of people used to tell me that in a world where specialization was not the norm, because I qualified in 2005, I started my practice in 2008. A lot of people felt that why are you doing this? Because you aren't entirely sure whether people would really understand indirect taxation the way you do. But I chose to specialize. And today, when I look back at my journey, I'm very glad that I took up indirect taxation, because today, with the way GST law is evolving, the dynamism of the law is such that any one of us who choose to be in the practice of GST, I would say, whichever part of the country you are, sky is the limit. And hence, today I chose to speak on the topic of how to handle the intricacies of GST law. Now, I'm assuming that each one of you who have tuned in there do have a rough idea of how the GST law works. Now, there are a lot of registered assessees all across the country. And for any one of you who are in practice, you must have come across this entire flurry of notices from the department that the GSTR 2A is not matching with GSTR 3B, so on and so forth. Now, the first and the foremost trick is to tell yourself and also your client that if you are registered with the GST department, notices are bound to come. Now, in GST, the law is so dynamic that, in my personal opinion, I would say that there is not a single provision in law which is capable of being deciphered or understood in one single way. Hence, every provision will come with multiple interpretations. And if that be the case, if you, as an assessee, or you, as the consultant of an assessee, are proceeding to do something on your understanding of law, which may be correct, it may not be in consonance with what the revenue officer thinks. Hence, the first and the foremost thing that we need to remember as practicing chartered accountants or as assessees under GST is that once you are registered with GST, notices are bound to come. The second and a very important fact that I keep telling my team is that the person who's sitting on the other side, which here I imply is a revenue officer, his job is not really to understand you. He will continue doing what he is doing. And I would also say that we as assessees should not parade the truth. I'll give you a small instance. There was a client of mine who got a particular inquiry or an audit observation from the department. And he came to our office and he said that, Madam, ekdam strong reply dijiyega. I mean, I was like, sir, strong to chai piya hai, coffee piya bhi, reply ko strong kaise banane ka? So I think that is another problem in our industry, that the patient is telling the doctor how to operate. And that is one thing that we should never allow. And then we said that, chalo, sir, aapko kitna lamba reply dena hai? So he said, no, ma'am, give a very, very strong reply. I said, theek hai. Now, what my office did was to prepare a very long reply. And sometimes the size of the reply is proportionate to the fee you get, because the client gets very happy and chuffed that, see, what a reply. And sometimes it so happens that once the fee is bigger, then you also quote the decisions from the EU VAT and the European VAT, etc., etc. So I was very uncomfortable doing that, but my client said that, no, ma'am, you give me a long reply, because I am of the view that a long reply is a wrong reply. You need not parade the truth. You need not educate the department. You need not take the department's job on a subcontract basis. If at all there is a dispute and you do not challenge that dispute, it leads to an allegation. And if you do not have anything to say against that allegation, it becomes a fact. I am of the view that in GST, truth does not matter, it's the fact that matters. So if there is a particular notice which has come to you, and that notice says that, say, for example, there is an ITC mismatch in the GSTR 2B and the 3B that you have taken, and accordingly, this will be not allowed to the assessee, and they have said an X figure has to be reversed. You can simply reply that, sir, we do not agree to the allegations raised by you, and accordingly, we will not be able to pay. You can also go a step further in asking more questions. So I always feel that when we ask questions, we do not ask questions because we do not know the answer. And that is one mindset you should get completely free with, that whenever we are asking a question, it does not make us any lesser, or it does not make us sound less intelligent, because asking the right questions will help you understand how much the opposite party, which in your case most likely will be the DR, has understood. Why? Because in GST and also in the erstwhile law, which primarily I'm talking about service tax, VAT, excise, my personal experience has been that not much can be fetched, or there is not a huge success rate at the adjudication stage. So once you build your case at the adjudication stage, it has to go to the first appellate authority and then to the second appellate authority. And everything that you give will make the very basis and the foundation of your case once it reaches, say, for example, the tribunal. So coming back to that example, so when we gave a 30-page reply, then the show cause notice came, which was about 70 pages. So for the first time, I saw that a show cause notice is issued with case laws. So I was very surprised. And then I was completely in concurrence to my mindset that no, a long reply is always a wrong reply. You understand the case, whatever matter you feel is to be disputed, you can always tell it very succinctly, but do not over educate the department. What is our problem is this: in the last 5 or more than 5 years that we've done GST, now that there are a flurry of notices which are coming our way. And one of this is the mismatch between GSTR 3B and 2B. Now, for the uninitiated, let me give you a small brief. that ever since the 1st of January 2022, you have to take the GST ITC based on what is populated in your GSTR 2B. I'm just giving you a bird's eye view of the provision under Section 16, subsection 2 of the GST Act. Prior to this, there wasn't any amendment in 16.2. There were a set of rules which said so, but we'll not get into the technical aspect of that discussion. So now, if there is a mismatch for the period prior to 1/1/22, it is very clear that the law did not have any statutory provisions in the section, and hence, by way of rules, if something has been imposed, we all know the underlying principle of law that the rules cannot override the provisions of the Act. So, most of us would have a tendency that if there is a mismatch notice which has come by the department, we will sit and we will start calculating everything that, oh, there is a mismatch of, say, for example, 50 lakhs. ये इनवॉइस का हमने लिया, ये इनवॉइस का हमने नहीं लिया, ऐसा हमने किया, वैसा हमने नहीं किया. So we have to understand that we are not the subcontractors for the department. You, for the period prior to 1/1/22, can always take a plea that the statutory provisions had no such concept that ITC has to 100% match with what is appearing in the GSTR 2A. Secondly, you can always tell them that, sir, आपने तो ये mismatch हमें बना के दिया है. You give us the invoice level data. If Mr. X, there is a mismatch of 5 lakhs. Mr. Y, we have a mismatch of 3 lakhs. Mr. Z, we have a mismatch of 2,85,000. So please kindly let us know as to which invoices are you talking about, and then we will see. But on the contrary, if you sit to do that yourself, in my professional view, out of basis my very humble opinion, basis my personal practice, we realize, I would say that that should not be the right approach. And also, as I mentioned, in the GST law, it is very different from the erstwhile law. There are so many sections which give you an advantage that if you study the law well, there are so many sections that can come to your advantage, basis which you can fight your case rather than choosing a case where you will only give a long reply, which is furnished with a lot of information, a lot of data, which otherwise is not necessary, number one. And number two, by educating the department and by parading the truth so much, आप अपने ही पैर पे कुल्हाड़ी मार रहे हो. You don't have to tell them. He is not sitting on the other side of the fence to understand you. He will continue doing his job. But your idea should be to understand what does the provision of law hold for you and how you can best use it to your advantage. Now, let us say, for example, talk about the first issue. I've made some notes which I thought I will share with all of you. So let's begin with a few issues that I had. Now, there was a client of mine where we had, and these are all based on my personal experiences we've had with GST practice over the last couple of years. So now there was an assessee who received a mismatch notice between GSTR 2A and 3B. Now, the 3B was, say, for example, 1 crore, wherein the ITC was availed, and the 2A was reflecting as 95 lakh. Now, there was a mismatch of rupees 5 lakh. So, when the assessee perused the data after receiving the information or the observation or the notice from the revenue, they saw इसमें तो एक आपका blocked credit भी है motor vehicle का, which as per the provisions of section 17 subsection 5, the assessee is not entitled to get. So now when he said this to the department, oh, the department started wondering, I have issued you a notice for rupees 5 lakh, but यहाँ पे तो blocked credit भी है. So how do we work around this? Because even he was in doubt. That's why we told the department and also internally, this is what my learning was, that a linear comparison of numbers can be extremely dangerous as far as the GST law is concerned. And if you get such a notice, you should not get into the arithmetical accuracy for it. You should not start working and giving the data to the department On the contrary, let them get back to you with all the information, and then you take a call as to how you would like to treat this particular notice or reply to that particular communication from the revenue authorities. Now, under GST, what happens? The department may think that, say, an assessee, Mr. A, is doing something incorrect. Maybe he's taken an ITC he should not have. Maybe he's indulging in fake invoicing. Maybe there is a lower discharge as far as GST is concerned on the output tax. So, when does this suspicion become an allegation? When a notice is issued. Until then, it is a mere suspicion. Now, if you do not dispute this particular allegation, which comes to you in the form of a notice, then it becomes a fact. So, if you were to get a notice about a mismatch of ITC, you can simply reply, "Sir, we do not agree to your observation, and hence, accordingly, as per us, the particular tax should not be payable." Now, again, let me give you an example. There is a goods transport agency. These are all practical examples which we have come across in the course of handling litigation of GST. Now, say for example, there is a particular GTA which was under RCM. So, if a GTA is registered under RCM, then it is not entitled to get any input tax credit. Now, from the next financial year, the GTA decides that no, I will get into forward charge mechanism. Now, while under the first year of RCM, it had purchased a truck for which it did not take any ITC. अभी आईटीसी तो आपने लिया नहीं, लेकिन अब जब आप फॉरवर्ड चार्ज में आ रहे हो, जीटीए इज सेइंग कि आई वांट माय आईटीसी. The answer to the law question is, can he take ITC? The answer is yes. If you refer to the provisions of section 18(1)(d) of the CGST Act, in a scenario where you were providing an exempt supply or a supply like the one stated by me, and in the next year, if you choose to pay tax on the same, then by reducing the ITC by certain percentage point, you are free to avail. यहाँ तक तो ठीक है. But then what happens to section 16 subsection 4 of the CGST Act? As we all know, section 16 subsection 4 casts a limitation on the availment of credit, that if you have not availed the credit within a certain time frame from the end of the financial year, then that credit will not be allowed to be availed by the assessee in the GST returns. Now, in section 18(1), there is no notwithstanding clause, and also in section 16(4), there is no saving provision. So, what would happen to the assessee? So, hence, in such a case, you have to understand that there will always be sections which are contradictory to each other, where you know that multiple interpretations are possible. So, before you take, or when you take the ITC, and the assessee gets the notice that, sorry, sir, 16(4) will not allow you, you can quote sections 18(1)(d). And now that is how you will have to build your confidence in the litigation practice. And I would say the first and the foremost thing to do is to read the law, one provision over and over and over again, till you understand the law. And even then, let me tell you, in spite of multiple readings, you will still want to read it the nth time. And even then, you'll feel there is so much more in this particular section to be understood. Now, let's come to when notices are issued by the department. Now, under GST, the tax cannot be demanded unless a show cause notice is issued. Now, there is a section 73 that deals with the issue of show cause notices in cases where there is no fraud, no malified intention on part of the assessee. And if there is a malified intention or there is a fraud on part of the assessee, then the same can be demanded under the provisions of section 74. Now, obviously, there are a lot of differences when we talk about 73 and 74. One is with a malified intention, that is 74. The other one is without a malified intention. Now, please remember one thing, that when a particular notice is issued under one section, it is an affirmation of demand under that section, and also a disaffirmation of demand under another section. In other words, when a notice is issued under section 73, it by and large also implies that this particular notice was never meant to be issued under 74. And in other words, when an assessee receives a notice under 73, it implies that the department is taking cognizance of the fact that there was no malified intention, no leakage of revenue by the assessee because of a malified intention or because of any foul play. So, hence, when you read a particular section, you need not read the section in isolation. You also have to understand what that section means vis-a-vis other sections. Now, let us talk about another practical example. So basically, there was an assessee who received a huge demand under the section 73. And for some odd reason, the entire notice was filled with the allegation that this particular assessee has indulged in fake invoicing, had indulged in malified practice, had indulged in notorious activities. So, our first question was that, sir, if the assessee has done fake invoicing and everything with a malified intention, then why have you issued a notice under 73? Because 73 is only related to a non malified intention. So the very ground of your show cause notice is incorrect. So the officer started thinking कि भाई ये तो शायद थोड़ा सा गलत हो गया. He said, no problem, Shivani. Let me do something. I will upgrade the notice to 74. I said, sir, but वो तो अगर आप section 75 subsection 2 पढ़ेंगे, then that is not allowed. Because 75(2) goes on to say that if a notice is issued under 74, and if the cause of a malified intention or any such unscrupulous activities cannot be proved against the assessee, then it will be treated as if it was a notice issued under 73. So the law is allowing you a downgrade of the show cause notice, but the law will not allow you an upgrade of the show cause notice. So rather than approaching my case on merit, we simply challenged the very efficacy, the very foundation of the show cause notice. And we hence said that, sir, your very show cause notice itself is faulty and outside the ambit of law, because while you have all the way gone to prove a case of malified intention and fake invoicing, but then the entire notice has been issued under section 73, which to our mind was incorrect. And then, see, you also have to understand that this power of limitation, the limitation is a huge power which is available to you as an assessee. We will also discuss the timelines of issuing notices and orders under 73 and 74. But that is how we approach our litigation. As far as these few examples are concerned, we have a lot of time left. I'll also take the privilege of explaining a few other examples also. And Kirti, I'll request you in the interim, if there are any questions which are floating in, please keep posting it on the chat box.
Yeah, sure.
So, yes. So, now what happens is that generally what happens is that as litigation practitioners, when we are dealing with facts, we are clouded by what really, is the truth. No, you only have to see that what are the facts as far as this particular case is concerned. There's also another one that we'll talk about, section 59. Okay. Now, someone asked me that when we were very fortunate to be instrumental, in drafting the GST law from the EIRC. I had the privilege of being in the committee. Now, so a couple of weeks back, someone asked me that in the entire scheme of the GST law, which do you feel is the most powerful section? I said, sir, section 59, that is self-assessment. So what happens is that section 59, and let me see if I can quote the section to you. Yes. So section 59 reads that every registered person shall self-assess the taxes payable under this act and furnish a return for each tax period as specified under section 39. So you have to understand that you have to have confidence in what you have given, whether it is disputed or not by the department. That's a second thing, but you have to have complete confidence. Now, let me give you a small example. When we talk about this, we were just sitting with a client yesterday who had an audit with the GST department, and they were a little concerned when a certain amount was, standing as payable. And I happened to share this with them that when anyone is handling the GST litigation for a client, or for that matter, even the regular day-to-day work, two different consultants are capable of deciphering and interpreting the law two different ways. Very possible. As I said, you may decipher the law in a certain way, and I may decipher the law, and no single provision is being capable. Like today, even if I ask you that, please show me with a raise of hands who all have filed their GSTR 3B return correctly. In spite of more than 5 years, I can't, claim that, because I'm very sure certain mistakes have been made, or rather certain the returns have been filed in a way which is based on my interpretation of law, which may not be in consonance with my consultant, or for that matter, even the revenue authorities. But at the end of it all, and especially when you see the entire structure of GSTR 9, which is the annual return of GST, and GSTR 9C, you will realize that there are multiple interpretations possible, especially when you're filling in table number 6 of GSTR 9 that deals with ITC, table number 8, which again deals with the data of ITC from GSTR 2A, so on and so forth. So at the end of your day, whenever the matter comes before the revenue authority, either in litigation or otherwise, as long as you are capable of explaining what you have done before to them, but to yourself, I think that is where your victory will lie. So be very, very sure that what you're doing is on an understanding of the facts of the case and the GST law. It may not be similar to what the department thinks, or it may not be similar to the way another consultant would have handled those returns or matter. But at the end of, say, 5 years, 6 years also, you should be in a position to make them understand as to how this particular return was filed or matter was handled. Now, let me give you another very small example. We were dealing with another case wherein a demand was made by the revenue officer. Now, the revenue officer saw that there is a discount received in the financial statement, and then they said, "Bhai, isme to output tax dena hoga." We argued that, sir, output tax, because I have paid less to my vendor, discount received from my supplier. In other words, it should be a matter of ITC. They said, yeah, but we have demanded an output tax. So we argued that, sir, आप आउटपुट टैक्स कैसे डिमांड किए, इसमें तो आपको माने इनपुट रिड्यूस करना चाहिए था. देन दे सेड, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं, व्हाट वी विल डू इज दैट वी विल change this. I said, sir, again, this seems a little impossible to me. His question was why. So, when the matter went to the appellate authority and this conversation was going, we referred to section 107, subsection 11 of the GST Act. And what does it say? It says that after making an inquiry, the appellate authority, as it deems fit, can either confirm, modify, or annul the decision or the order passed, but it cannot remand the case back to the adjudicating authority. That means you can only confirm, you can modify, or you can annul. There is nothing else that you can do. You cannot change the nature of the show cause from an output tax to a demand of an ITC. Now, if you see the very famous case law of GP Singh, wherein it has been, it spoke about the words of rank, that when you talk about aluminium, when you talk about iron, when you talk about any other similar metal, in a words of rank, only such other metals will be taken into consideration. You cannot include gold, because gold becomes of a higher rank. So hence, when we talk about any particular demand, and when we talk about the provisions of 107.11, the appellate authority, yes. Can you modify? Yes. Can you confirm? Yes. Can you annul? Yes. But can you enhance my demand? Answer is no. So basis that, we referred to that section and said that, sorry, sir, the GST law, the provisions of the Act do not give you any such power to enhance my demand. And hence that demand again had to be dropped. Now see, under GST, the department has two routes, section 73 and section 74. Now there are the two routes available. By choosing one route, you have effectively chosen not to go by the second route. That means if I have chosen 73, I have chosen not to go under 74 and vice versa. So you must have come across many notices wherein they speak about the mismatch of even in the erstwhile regime, the mismatch of the taxation amount which is appearing in 26 AS vis-a-vis what is appearing in the service tax return. So now, to my mind, by basing any demand on the basis of 26 AS is absolutely incorrect, because there is no way that will ever match. There can be a spillover from the erstwhile financial year. Maybe the person who's deducting the tax has done it incorrectly, etc., etc. There can be many and multiple reasons. So, whenever there is an allegation, you have to understand that what is the evidence they have to support the allegation, and let department do that job. Do not do that job for the department. So, if a 26 versus ST3 comes your way, rather than actually sitting and reconciling it, you have to give a simple reply that sorry, sir, 26 years cannot be made a base for the demand, and accordingly, we do not agree with the allegations which have been made by your good self in the said notice. So again, and see, when we talk about 3B and 2A or 2B for that matter, for the uninitiated, there was a circular 183 and later 193, which was issued by the CBIC, wherein they have said that if there is a mismatch and if the assessee can get us a certificate from its vendor or the chartered accountant of the vendor stating why this mismatch has taken place, could be because the wrong GST number was plugged in by the vendor of the assessee. Maybe it was shown incorrectly as B2C instead of B2B. It was shown, but it was shown under a wrong GSTIN. So there can be multiple reasons. Then they say that we will drop the demand. So, by virtue of bringing this circular itself, you have gone on to say that these mismatches can happen on many, many occasions. So, then what is the great idea of going ahead and issuing a show cause notice? And also, let me tell you, my friends, that once a particular amount appears in the GSTR 2A, 2B, it does not necessarily mean that the tax has been discharged by a vendor on that. So there may be a scenario where I have paid my vendor 5 lakh plus GST. And when I see my vendor shows that yes, 5 lakh, the 3B is filed. There is no way you are actually privy to the inside of what has gone in the 3B. Maybe he has actually not even paid the particular tax which it collected from you. It has paid on account of the other clients he had. So just by mere appearance in the GSTR 2A does not mean, and we'll also discuss if time permits, that even the Bharti Airtel, the Supreme Court has held that GSTR 2A is just a facilitation form. It cannot be made basis of a demand on the assessee. DY Beathal, many other judgments which I have noted down, which we will discuss, goes on to say that you cannot demand an ITC from the assessee till and unless you have taken enough actions against the supplier. There are many cases where you come across that the supplier was active when you were dealing with him, but later on the registration was cancelled retrospectively, even for the period when you were dealing with the supplier, because now, as on date, the supplier does not exist. It's absconding, it's indulged in fake transaction. Let's take another case that your supplier is there, but your supplier has dealt with a supplier in turn who's dealing in fake invoicing. So, what is the limit? So, obviously, as and how the law is evolving, you've had cases, LGW Industries from the Calcutta High Court, the DY Beathal, the Honorable Madras High Court, wherein they have gone on to say that sorry, you cannot disturb the recipient assessee till and unless you have taken cogniz- cognizable action against the particular supplier who in turn is absconding today. So that is something again we need to keep in mind as to what is the department intending to do, and also these flurry of cases which are coming by the various honorable high courts. Now let's take another practical example. So there was a GTA who's paying 5% and they are not availing ITC. But now what happens is that the department is saying that sorry sir, आपका तो 5 नहीं आपको 12 देना होगा. तो the assessee is saying कि फिर आप मेरे को additional ITC भी दे दो, because the GST law says that if you are providing a rate of 5% on your output services as a GTA, then no ITC will be available. And if you're providing at, say, for example, 12%, then ITC will be available. Now, also, then the assessee has that particular case to handle. Many a times, what happens is we get so lost in letting the department know that, see, we are right and we have done this, that actual essence of the litigation is lost. So if I can drive your attention to the Evidence Act, and in fact, this is one of the most powerful sections where it talks about the burden of proof. And when we talk about section 101 of the Evidence Act, it goes on to say, and Evidence Act by and large, they establish the common principles of equity, which are very, very applicable to taxation and even to GST. So the burden of proof, they say that whoever desires any court to give judgment as to any legal right, blah blah blah, must prove that those facts exist. When a person is bound to prove the existence of any fact, it is said that the burden of proof lies on that person. So today, if the revenue officer, or for that matter the department, is taking the onus of alleging that yes, you have siphoned off the money from the government treasury by taking incorrect ITC, or for that matter, by short paying your output tax, before you jump into the well and start parading the truth, be very mindful of this particular show cause notice which has been issued. And you also have to make sure that the basic tenets are met in the SCN. Many a times they'll say you have short paid GST. So, arey, what GST have you short paid? You have short paid service tax. Acha, theek hai, we've short paid service tax, but under which category of service? Manpower supply, security services, under a forward charge, under reverse charge, if GST, under which HSN are you talking about? So these facts have to be kept in mind. So when you are claiming ITC, the burden of proof will lie on you as an assessee. But when the department has put an allegation on the assessee regarding incorrect availment of ITC, or for that matter, an output tax, it is as per the Evidence Act of Section 101, which goes on to prove that they will be having the burden of proof, which they have to duly discharge and let the assessee know the facts of the case and how they think that this particular tax has been short paid. So there are many rights and there are many, many remedies which are available. It is just that you have to understand that many a times a lot of clients will say settle karna hai. I don't know what it means all over, but in Calcutta, settle karna hai means bhai kaam karna, and then they'll say bhaiya don't rub the officer the wrong way. तो फिर वी से कि भाई रब तो होंगे, अब वो रॉन्ग हो या राइट हो, दैट इज नॉट इन आवर हैंड. सो बेसिकली ऑल्सो obviously a lot depends upon the rapport you have with your client. Some people are extremely success oriented कि भाई इसी level पे हमें करके देना है, but we can always show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And even as a practitioner, if you keep these basics in mind, I think it really helps in handling the intricacies of the GST litigation. So that was one. And let me share another example with you. And then I'd like to briefly go through the due dates, which are prescribed under 73 and 74 for the department to issue a show cause as well as an order. So there was a DRC one which was issued, 1A, which was issued to us for a particular client. And this was by the anti-evasion. And then they said that, bhai, you have 5 days time within which you'll need to reply. And we just gave them a reply that, sir, we don't agree with your DRC 01A. And then they said, ki bhai, we will give you a DRC 01, which is your show cause. Now, see, you have to understand that 73 and 74, even in the pre-consultation stage, they have a very different approach. In 73, in the pre-consultation stage, there is no penalty. In 74, there will be penalty. Even after issuance of the notice under 73, there will be no penalty for 30 days. Under 73, 74, there will be a penalty. So hence, it is very, very important to understand that when the pre-consultation show cause was issued to you, whether it is valid or not. So if it is under 74, what is the timeline within which they have issued you? If it is under 73, which are the timelines under which they have issued to you? Talking about timelines, both under 73 and 74, this is something that we all need to take cognizance of. By and large, if we were to talk about the period of 1718, for section 73, the timeline to pass the order, this is the order, then we'll come to the show cause notice, is precisely the 31st of December 2023. That means all notices to be issued for 1718 under 73, the time limit has passed. However, when we talk about 74, the time limit is still there for many of them. It is basically till 7/2/2025. Again, when we talk about 2018-19, the time limit to issue your order is till the 30th of April 2024. And when you talk about section 74, the order will be 31/12/2025. 1920, the order is 31/8/2024, and the order will be under 74 will be 2026, 31st of March, so on and so forth. So by and large, the only time limit which has elapsed for the department as on date is under section 73 to issue you an order, which was to be issued within the 31st of December 2023. Now, obviously, if a particular notice has been issued under 73, it cannot be modified to 74 because you cannot upgrade the notice. If it has been issued under 74, then you have to understand whether the provisions of 74 really are applicable to you. So these provisions play a very big role in your entire understanding and your litigation practice. And having said that, I also feel it is very important, because right now we were talking about how much you understand the law and how much you will be able to make the department understand, or for that matter, yourself understand what you've done. I am a great believer that the department is not there to understand the truth or to sit and understand what you are telling them. They will continue doing their job. But for, say, for example, 2017-18, for Section 74, the department still has time until the 7th of February 2025 to issue an order, and the 7th of August 24 to issue your show cause notice. So you have to be mindful that what you've done, you at least understand what you've done and why you've done, and that understanding can by and large come where you have a complete understanding of the facts of the case and also the provisions of law, so that you can use this law to the best of your advantage. Having said that, moving ahead, let's discuss the purpose of merger. Okay, mismatch. Okay, so I just had a few case laws which I thought could be of interest to the audience at large, which is by and large related to the ITC as far as GST is concerned. Now, one of this was that the High Court, the Honorable Calcutta High Court, in the case of Diamond Beverage Private Limited, 1948 of 2023, has gone on to said that a show cause notice without application of mind is liable to be set aside and no action can be taken on the assessee. Now, what was this entire matter? That a particular show cause was done, and the show cause notice, a reply was given by the assessee, and without understanding the reply or without taking cognizance of the reply, the order was issued, and it was just a replica of the order, show cause notice. Then the time, in this case, the Honorable Calcutta High Court said that sorry, we go on to say that there has been no application of mind, and accordingly, the show cause notice was liable to be set aside. Again, if you were to discuss in the case of, again, this was a SLP which was before the Honorable Supreme Court, and this was against the order, and this SLP was filed by the revenue authorities against the order of the Andhra Pradesh High Court, wherein this was again to do with the ITC. Now, it so happened that the assessee had taken some ITC, and retrospectively, the ITC was the ITC was denied because the particular supplier or the vendor of this assessee, their registration was cancelled retrospectively. So they went on to say that they went on to discover that when this particular transaction was taking place, the supplier was very much active, and it is only at a later stage in time that this particular supplier had his registration suo motu cancelled by the departmental authorities. So, hence, the department contended that the ITC in such cases will not be allowed. And then the department went on to confiscate the goods, etc., etc. Then the Honorable Andhra Pradesh High Court said that what can the buyer or the recipient assessee do in such cases? At most, whenever you are looking at your vendor compliance, you can go, you can log in, you can see whether the 3B has been filed or not, and you see that the 3B has been duly filed. But as I just spoke, that just the mere filing of 3B is no certificate that the tax which was collected from you was actually paid. And even when we talk about the ITC, the mere fact that the ITC is reflecting in your GSTR 2A is absolutely no certificate that the particular tax which was collected from you by your vendor has been paid. And then obviously, we have a lot many other decisions. As I mentioned, you have the decision of LGW Industries by the Honorable Calcutta High Court. You have the decision of DY Beathal by the Honorable Madras High Court. And you have such decisions which go on to say that till and unless you take definite actions against the supplier who is actually the errant person, or who is the one who is absconding, or for that matter who has actually not paid the tax to the government organization, to the government exchequer, then you go after him. After that, you can approach the recipient. You cannot ask the recipient to reverse the ITC. And obviously, there are a lot of technical issues if you talk about the reversal of ITC. When I talk about the mother section 16, subsection 2, as it stood prior to 1/1/22, there were by and large four conditions that one needs to satisfy. A, that you have received the goods or services as a recipient. B, that the tax has been paid by the supplier, which is by the virtue of doctrine of impossibility outside your scope to understand or to fathom whether the tax has been paid or not. Number three, that you as a recipient have filed your returns. And so in this way, and that you are in possession of a valid document, tax invoice, debit note. Now, if these four conditions are satisfied, the law says, please proceed to take the ITC. Now, with 1/1/22, the law got amended and they introduced the conditions that the tax has to be duly passed by way of a GSTR 1 to the assessee, who is the recipient assessee. But even talking about prior to the law, now tell me, today, if you ask an assessee as a revenue authority to reverse this particular credit, maybe you've issued a notice under 73. Under what section are you asking the assessee to reverse the credit? Under section 16(2)? But the answer is that 16(2) does not talk about reversal. So where does the question of reversal actually arise? It's only from the 1st of October 2022 that the law introduced a provision within its statute which allows you to ask the assessee to reverse the ITC, failing which there was absolutely no provision within the law to ask the assessee to reverse an ITC, irrespective of whether the ITC has been paid by its vendor or not, etc., etc. So again, an understanding of law. But on the contrary, if as a GST practitioners, we absolutely proceed to make them understand that on merit as to why this particular ITC should be received, that you've received the invoice, that this particular return has been filed by you, that you have actually received the goods or services. But how will you prove whether the tax has been paid? We, as regular assessees of GST, are not privy to the particular returns which are being filed by the different vendors. Hence, the GST law is absolutely very, very dynamic. There is so much we are still learning and unlearning every day. But if I was to sum up my discussion, I would only go on to say that the GST law provides every practitioner and assessee an ample opportunity to ask the right questions. When you ask the right questions to the department, You do not belittle yourself. On the contrary, you make the very foundation of your case, which will go up till the appellate authority, because the success rates at the adjudication level are very poor. And also, once you understand what is going on in their mind, that is when you can form your reply accordingly. Also, never try to educate the department, never try to parade the truth. Always remember, a long reply is a wrong reply. Never allow your assessee or your client to explain to you how to file a reply, because a patient will never tell a doctor how to conduct the operation. So, hence, a thorough understanding of the law, and there are very powerful sections under GST, one of which I spoke about was Section 59. Also, when you talk about the limitation, like how you have to file an appeal under 107 to the department against an order of the department, even the department has a time frame within which the appeal needs to be filed by them or a cross objection. So, the law is very, very dynamic. I think we are all learning every day. And from my side, that is about it. I would be very happy to take, I am happy we could do a good 50 minutes of speaking. And Kirti, with your permission, if we can open for any Q&A, I'll be more than happy to take it up.
Any questions? We can please take it. I've not seen any questions still. There was a question to Mohsin ji. I think you were there, Mohsin ji. By the time we received
Yes,
question
ma'am.
for, yeah. So there was a question from Asmita for Pushpa Kothavle ji. She's saying that as a senior citizen, she's into practice now. And then for them, can you throw some light for her issues?
Did you specify what issues she's facing?
Health issues. That's why she started practice probably. See, your question is, please touch upon issues related to senior citizen in practice who wants to continue in practice with compromised health.
Yes, ma'am. Very valid point. And I don't think that just because you've reached a certain age, you are bound to take a retirement. You're free to continue working as long as you're able to schedule your day in a way that gives you time to relax and recover. And also, I would suggest that you hire the required employees, you take assistance from your teammates, so that you're able to delegate some part of your job, so that you're not overexerting yourself. I know from fact that my parents are also senior citizens, and I know that there are days when they are more irritable, when they don't want to do work. And in those days, I make sure that they talk to a therapist on a regular basis, especially when my dad retired from his job as a engineer on a high post. I got him a therapy session for so that he has the professional insights into how to balance his day, how to occupy himself better. So getting professional help always ensures that you are able to see things more clearly. And as far as practice is concerned, please hire the needed staff. Please ensure that you are delegating, you are going into office for limited hours, so that you are able to prioritize your health as well. And you have a second in command who is able to take care of the office while you're away. I hope that helps.
Sorry, how the calculation of interest is to be made in case of excess ITC claimed.
See, you will have to refer to the provisions of Section 50 of the GST Act. So now, in case if there is an ITC which you have claimed, you will have to make an annual calculation, which will also have a spillover effect from month to month. Say, for example, you have claimed an ITC in the month of April, and that excess has been established. You'll have to pay interest at the rate of 18% per annum. So the detailed calculation will be available under Section 50 of the CGST Act.
Further, any questions? I think no question.
Great.
After listening to you, Shivani,
Mhm.
I felt that you are actually a real example for work-life balance with with your pray and all. You have achieved gold medal for India and all this. So it's actually a very great example.
No,
We are
thank
having
you so much. In fact, right after this, I have to go live on the radio. That is
okay.
where I talk about my journey in kettlebell. See, I became a chartered accountant when I was all of 22. I'm 41 today. So my first love will always be my profession. God willing, I belong to a family of entrepreneurs. So I started practice early on. Back in the day, we were just not in the groove of earning for a living. You were pretty much earning for a hobby and to
Yeah.
take care of your, chota mota jo personal pocket expenses rehta hai. But then the tectonic shift comes in as in how you start understanding the law better. And I was very lucky to have mentors in life who actually, guided me the right way. One of which is my husband. I've always looked up to my father in my kettlebell journey. It's been my sir. So to answer your question or to just let you know what my thoughts are is that I get my bread, butter, and jam from my CA practice, and it will always be my first love. It's the first time ever I tasted success and what is it to, be known amongst a crowd of people for all the good reasons. So I think this will always be there. And athletics is obviously now pretty much a part of my life. So
When I saw na, कि, oh, she's a CA who won this gold. So I
yeah.
was feeling so proud.
No, no,
It
I'm
was
so
like,
happy. No, no, it's
yeah,
been a very overwhelming journey for me. But
yeah,
at the same time, I think God has been very, very kind. I'm a product of a lot of good wishes and a little bit of hard work and maybe
yeah.
some right decisions.
Yeah. Like to thank you for being here and to
Thank you,
take
Kirti.
out time for all of us to guide us as to
Oh,
how
no,
we
not
can
at all.
also.
I'll be very happy to grace the platform again. I mean, if we just get a sense of who's really the other side, na, in terms of the audience, the age, whether
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are
yeah.
into, if I'm taking a technical subject, I'd like to know whether they are actually into GST practice or not, because otherwise, वो सारा tangent होके निकल जाता है. So maybe the next time, whenever I'm taking a technical subject, a little bit of insight on that would be good because we are very used to speaking on platforms where people's experience is more than my age. So that's how we modulate our sessions. But अगर अभी आपको पता नहीं सामने कौन है, but
Mm-hmm.
it was an absolute privilege. Thank you so much. And I'll just take up one last question which you've sent me on the chat box,
Yeah.
which is if credit note is issued by the supplier is not reversed, what are the consequences for both? Now, see, what happens is that nowadays, to whoever who's answered this question, I'm understanding is that even when you see the assessment notices which are coming in big numbers, everything is AI driven. So if you have taken a particular ITC in your 3B and your supplier has shown that they have passed on the ITC and there is also a credit note they have issued, the department does not know whether you've reversed this credit or not. So before I answer your question, let me tell you how to deal with it in the assessment. So basically, they'll give you a notice saying that this much of ITC stands reversible because you have not really reversed the ITC. So one point is to then go and show them that, see, basis my ledger and my books, we have reversed. Although when we talk about assessment, by and large, it is just a scrutiny of the returns. But when we talk about the credit note from the viewpoint of a recipient, then obviously, if it has been issued within the time frame and within the ambit of law under the necessary section, then in that case, you have to mandatorily, as a buyer, reverse that particular ITC. And if it is proven that you have not done so, then in that case, obviously, that ITC stands demanded from you. And then, if there is any way out in terms of proving that the ITC has actually been reversed, then you can go scot free, otherwise, not. And as far as the supplier is concerned, then in that case, there is absolutely no implication for him because he had paid a particular amount of tax. Once the credit note was issued, he has reduced his output tax accordingly, and I'm assuming he's adjusted it with the subsequent return. So I don't think so it has much of a bearing on him, but obviously on the recipient, because if you've not reversed the particular ITC. Anything else, Kirti? You're on mute.
So any further question? I have not received any question yet. I think there are no questions from them. So I would like to just thank you for guiding us and see this is true, Miss. Truly, you have shown us doing full justice. You have done the full justice with the subject. Many times, what happened, when we just see the notice, we are going to the flow of the notice. कि हाँ उसने बोला है, we don't analyze कि 73 का है कि 74 का and how to answer them. Whatever they have said, we just try to answer. And then how you have showed us कि this is not to be the way to answer. This is really very helpful. This will be very helpful.
My end goal is that before you approach the case on merit, first understand what is the legality of that very document you received, whether it's a show cause notice, what is the jurisdiction, whether he has the jurisdictional powers to issue you, whether it is within the limitation period, whether the show cause itself has the basic facets. It is demanding tax, okay, fine, but what tax, for which period, under what HSN, what is the amount, and why? Notice is issued under 73 for reversal of ITC, but which section of the statute gives you the power to demand that ITC from me? Section 16.2 talks about availment of credit. It does not talk about reversal of credit. So if today you tell me to reverse my credit but what section? As for me, prior to, in this example, prior to 110.22, the law does not provide you a provision. Now, obviously, you have to do a cost benefit analysis also in terms of understanding that if the amount is small and dispute, but if over explaining and parading the truth can help you get the right favorable order, then obviously you can do that. But in by and large, my experience has been if you really approach the SCN before merit, but on the technicalities of the very validity of the SCN, you save a lot of hard work.
Thank you. Thank you for all the guidance you have done to us.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you, Kirti. Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you so much. It was nice to see you virtually. I look forward to seeing all of you in person very soon. And thank you to the Institute for giving me this opportunity. We look forward to gracing the platform again. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just leave the session. Bye, Mohsin.
Bye, Shivani. Pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Kirti.
Bye-bye. Thank you.